My name is Kesrit, and I have served on the exploration vessel Windward Current for 11 cycles. In that time, I have seen many strange things. Floating cities made of living coral, stars that sing when you listen closely enough, a moon that changes color with the seasons of its planet. But nothing surprised me as much as the small, quiet human who joined our crew 2 cycles ago. Her name was Mira. When she first came aboard, I remember thinking she looked like she might break if the ship shook too hard. She was so small compared to the rest of us. My people, the Threll, stand nearly 8 feet tall, with thick gray skin that can shrug off a glancing blow from a mining laser. Our engineer, Voss, was a Kalar, built like a walking boulder, with 4 arms and a temper to match. Even our ship's cook, gentle old Pitarn, had small spines along his back that could deliver a nasty sting if you annoyed him. And then there was Mira. Soft skin, no claws, no spines, no natural defenses that any of us could see. She smiled a lot, asked polite questions, and thanked people for the smallest favors. The crew found her charming, in the way you find a small animal charming. Harmless, sweet, not built for danger. She is like a flower, Titarn said to me once, watching her carefully sort star charts in the common room. Pretty to look at, but the first storm would flatten her. I laughed at the time. I did not know how wrong we were. Mira had joined us as a translator and cultural specialist. Her species, humans, had only recently begun traveling beyond their home system, but their language skills and quick thinking had already earned them a reputation among several trade alliances. She was assigned to help us communicate with a small mining colony we were visiting, one that spoke a difficult old dialect few of us understood. She worked hard. She was patient with our questions about her species, though some of our curiosity bordered on rudeness. Voss once asked her, quite bluntly, how a species with no armor and no claws had managed to build spaceships at all. Mira just smiled. "We got creative," she said, "and we didn't quit." At the time, I thought it was a clever answer, nothing more. Looking back, I think she was trying to warn us, gently, about something none of us understood yet. There were small things, if I think about it now, that should have told me humans were not what they seemed. Once, during a routine hull inspection, a support beam gave way and nearly crushed her. She did not scream, she did not freeze. She simply rolled out of the way, faster than I thought her small body could move, and then calmly reported the accident to maintenance as if nothing unusual had happened. Her hands were shaking slightly afterward, but her voice stayed steady the whole time. Another time, Voss lost his temper during a supply dispute and slammed one of his 4 fists onto the table hard enough to crack it. Every other crew member in the room flinched. Mira did not. She simply looked at him, waited for him to finish, and then calmly continued the conversation, as if a piece of furniture breaking was a minor inconvenience. "Doesn't much bother you, does it?" I asked her later. She shrugged. "I've seen worse tempers than his." I did not think much of it then. Humans, I assumed, must simply have strange nerves, dulled to things that would frighten the rest of us. I did not yet understand that what I was seeing was not a lack of fear, it was control. The real story I want to tell happened on our 6th month, near the mining colony of Pear Outpost 9. It was a small station, home to about 200 workers who extracted rare minerals from an unstable asteroid field nearby. The Windward Current had docked there to trade supplies and pick up cargo. It should have been a simple visit. It was not. 3 days into our stay, an old distress beacon buried deep in the asteroid field activated. It belonged to a ship that had crashed there decades earlier, one that our scanners identified as carrying a very old and very unstable cargo. Something dangerous had survived the crash, sealed away in the wreck, and the disturbance from ongoing mining had woken it up. I do not want to describe what emerged from that wreck in too much detail. It is enough to say it was not alive in any way we understood, but it moved, and it hunted, and it had been slowly working its way through the tunnels of the mining colony before anyone even knew it was there. By the time the alarm sounded, the creature, some kind of ancient biomechanical guardian meant to protect valuable cargo, had already disabled 2 work crews and was heading toward the main colony hub. Panic spread through the station immediately. Workers scrambled toward escape pods. Communications were a mess of shouting voices. Our own crew, gathered near the docking bay, did not know whether to help or retreat to our ship. Voss, for all his size and strength, stood frozen near the airlock, unsure what to do against a threat none of us had ever seen before. Tarn was already halfway back to the ship, urging the rest of us to follow. Even our captain, a seasoned Threll named Oren who had survived pirate raids and asteroid storms, looked uncertain, barking orders that contradicted each other as the situation grew worse. And then I noticed Mira was gone. I found her near the colony's central corridor, where the emergency lights flashed red and workers ran past her in every direction. She was not running. She stood still, watching the chaos with a strange, focused calm, the same way a person might study a puzzle they were about to solve. "Mira," I shouted over the noise. "We need to get back to the ship." She turned to look at me, and for a moment, I did not recognize her expression. The soft, polite warmth I had grown used to was gone. In its place was something sharper, something older. Her eyes moved quickly, taking in the exits, the crowd, the layout of the corridor, all in the span of a few seconds. "There are children in the lower levels," she said. "Workers' families. They won't make it to the pods in time." "That's not our problem," I said, immediately regretting how it sounded. "We need to leave, now." She looked at me, and I will never forget what she said next. "You're right. It's not your problem." Her voice was calm, almost gentle. "It's mine." Before I could stop her, she grabbed a length of pipe from a nearby maintenance cart, tested its weight in her hand, and ran toward the sound of the alarms instead of away from them. I stood there for a moment, stunned. Every instinct told me to follow the crowd toward safety, but something about the certainty in her voice made me follow her instead. What I saw over the next several minutes changed how I understood her species forever. Mira moved through the colony with a purpose I had never seen in her before. She was not reckless. Every step, every turn, seemed calculated. She directed fleeing workers toward the correct evacuation routes, her voice cutting through the panic with a firmness that made people listen. When a group of children became trapped behind a jammed door in the lower residential level, she did not hesitate. She used the pipe to pry the mechanism loose, straining with effort I did not think her small frame could produce, until the door gave way. The creature found us not long after. It moved unlike anything organic, jointed limbs clicking against the metal floors, sensors along its body glowing faint blue as it searched for movement. The workers behind us screamed and scattered further into the tunnels. I felt my own instincts screaming at me to run, to hide, to do anything except stand in the open where that thing could see us. Mira did not run. She positioned herself between the creature and the children, planting her feet, gripping the pipe with both hands. Her breathing was steady. Her eyes were locked on the creature's movements, studying it the way a hunter studies its prey, rather than the other way around. "Get them to the pods," she said to me, without looking away from the creature. "I'll handle this." "You cannot fight that thing alone," I said. "I'm not fighting it," she replied. "I'm buying time." There's a difference. What followed was unlike anything I had witnessed in my 11 cycles of service. Mira moved with a speed and precision that seemed impossible for her species. She avoided the creature's strikes by narrow margins, using the corridor's tight space to her advantage, never staying in one spot long enough to be caught. She was not trying to defeat the creature through strength, I realized. She was outlasting it, wearing down its patience, drawing its attention away from the fleeing families behind us. At one point, the creature's limb came dangerously close to striking her, and I called out in alarm. She twisted her body at the last moment, the strike missing her by less than a hand's width, and used the creature's own momentum to slip past it, toward a maintenance panel on the wall. Her hands worked quickly, disconnecting something, rerouting something else, all while the creature turned to relocate her. I did not understand what she was doing until the corridor's heavy blast doors, designed to seal off sections during hull breaches, began sliding shut on either side of the creature. "Move!" she shouted at me. I grabbed the last two children still lingering nearby and pulled them through the closing gap just as Mira slid through herself, the blast doors sealing shut behind us with a heavy, final clang. The creature was trapped, at least for now, inside the sealed corridor, giving the colony's security teams time to organize a proper containment response. Mira leaned against the wall, breathing hard, sweat on her forehead, but alive, unharmed, save for a few scrapes. I stared at her, my mind struggling to reconcile the calm, polite translator I had known with the person who had just outmaneuvered an ancient guardian creature, using nothing but a pipe, quick thinking, and sheer determination. "How did you know how to do that?" I asked, still catching my breath. "The blast doors, the timing, all of it?" She managed a tired smile. "Where I come from, you learn to survive with whatever you have. We didn't have claws or armor, so we learned other things instead. How to plan, how to adapt, how to keep going when everything says you should stop." Later, once the colony's security forces had properly contained the creature and the situation had calmed, Captain Oren found us in the medical bay, where Mira was getting the last of her scrapes treated. "You saved over 30 people today," he said to her, his voice carrying a respect I had never heard him use with anyone outside our own species, including my niece, who happened to be visiting the colony this week. Mira just shrugged, the same polite, unassuming gesture I had seen 100 times before. I just did what needed doing. But something had changed in how the rest of the crew looked at her after that day. Voss, who once towered over her with barely concealed condescension, now greeted her with a respectful nod whenever they passed in the corridors. Pertarn stopped calling her the fragile one and started asking her, quite seriously, to teach him some of the survival techniques she had used. As for me, I found myself thinking often about what she had said, back when Voss had first asked her how humans managed to build spaceships without claws or armor. We got creative. And we didn't quit. I understand now that this was not simply a clever answer. It was the truth about her entire species, wrapped in a few simple words. Humans did not need claws because they had learned, over countless generations on a world that gave them nothing easily, to be resourceful in ways the rest of us had never needed to be. They did not need armor because they had learned to move faster, think quicker, and endure longer than anything trying to catch them. Mira looked harmless. She smiled easily, asked polite questions, and thanked people for small favors. But underneath that gentle surface was something the rest of us had badly underestimated. A quiet strength, shaped by a world that never once made survival easy for her kind. I do not make the mistake of underestimating humans anymore. None of us on the Windward Current do. We simply thank the stars that people like Mira choose to stand beside us, rather than against us.